So let's go ahead and look at this top one up here. So we're graphing, if you want to look at it this way, I'll write it like this. We're graphing f of x is equal to 2, and our domain is x is greater than or equal to 0. So 2, we'll say 2 is right here. Just arbitrarily pick a spot. And it must be greater than or equal to 0, so that means we can take an x or take 0 and plug it in and we get 2 out. Alright. And so we end up getting just a horizontal line, okay, going off in that direction. And then of course let's graph f of x is equal to 0. This time we don't include 0. So I'm going to put a hole in the graph right here, and it's everything. Now f of x equal to 0, that's actually the x-axis, isn't it? You know something, let's do this one in a different color so we can see it. Okay, so we're remaining on the x-axis and going off in that direction to negative infinity. So it's not too bad graphing piecewise functions. Let's look at another example, of course. Okay, and this time we're going to look at, and of course I know f is overrated, but I tend to use it a lot. Alright, let's see, let's look at this one here. So we do curly brackets, f of x is going to be equal to x, and our domain is x is greater than or equal to 0, and then our second part of this function is a constant 3, and x is less than 0. I guess if you want, you could put a comma in here. Seems like I see commas or something separating these guys. Okay, so what does this graph look like? F of x is equal to x where x is greater than or equal to 0. Well, this is going to be, now we're including 0, so I'm going to put a solid dot starting right here. Okay, so this graph, and you know what, we'll do this in a different color. Looks like this. It's got a slope of 1, right? So it's going off in that direction forever. And then we do the second part to this graph. Of course, we don't have to write this, so I'm just doing this if you're seeing this for the first time. Okay, so this is a constant, 3. So let's say that 3 is up here. All right, we'll say 3 is up here, and we're going off in that direction. And that 3 just can't, just tap out right there. Okay. Now, of course, we put a hole in the graph. I put an open circle here saying, look, at C0, it's not defined. Okay. It's not defined. So here's the question. What is f of 0? Do you use this one down here, or do you use this one up here? Well, you would use the top one because we can include 0 in our domain. So that would just end up being 0. This is the one we would use. F of 0 is 0. See? Down here. Okay. Alright. Hopefully you're getting the trick of this. Actually, I guess there's no trick. Get the hang of it. We've already graphed linear equations, and now we're just graphing 2 of them. And they're cut up in 2 different pieces. You know, I think I'll name this one something else. How about h of x? We'll give it the name of h of x, and we're going to say 2x plus 1, where x is less than negative 1, and then the other part to this is x, where x is greater than or equal to negative 1. All right. So this part, 2x plus 1, it's got a y-intercept of 1. Now, what we need to probably do here is I'm going to plug negative 1 in to this. Even though it says we're not supposed to use negative 1, we're just going to